By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
This is Leah from the She Will Rock You podcast, the show where two millennial women tell the history of artists that were famous before we were born. You're listening to 20-10 Minutes.
Let's go. Episode 42 of 20-10 Minutes. I'm your host, Tim McCarthy. This is a mental health podcast that focuses on mental health. Holy shit, I did that backwards. Through humor, insight, and personal stories. Thank you for that introduction by Leah. With the She Will Rock You podcast. She didn't say her co-host's name, so I'm going to start a beef between you two. So Beth Ann is the other co-host of that show. I love what they're doing with that, especially there's not a lot of female music podcasts out there, and they're doing a great thing. They're up there. Them and Playlist Wars are probably like my 1 and 2 favorite podcasts that deal around music. And then I was thinking about this because the whole millennial thing. And I'm a millennial, I think, because born in 86, so I'm like right on that cusp. But I'm a fucking millennial. I don't battle people on it like, oh, boomer and millennial and Gen Z. I don't know what the fuck those words mean or where they came from or like how they came into fruition of like just saying Gen Z. Like what the heck, Generation Z? Like are you just the last of the alphabet? I don't get it. But I always think about like gatekeeping when it comes to music, and it happened. So they sent me that intro, and I was thinking about it, and then I drove to go get coffee one day, which was like that day, and I saw like a kid who had to be like no more than like 11, rocking a Wu-Tang shirt, and I wanted to pull over, and I was like, I want you to name all the members in alphabetical order right now, but I wouldn't do that because I'm not a psychopath. But the craziness in my head wanted to, and I always want to pull people's cards. Like when I see like someone wearing a Nirvana shirt, I'm like, name me 5 songs right now. Then I'll let you buy in the grocery store. But people just buy shirts to wear them. Like I get it. Like I'd be a weirdo if I just wore an Austin 316 shirt and didn't watch wrestling, right? If someone came up to me like, "Hey, show me what a Stone Cold Stunner is," I give them 2 birds and a Stone Cold Stunner. You know what? I'll do that to somebody one day, and they're gonna like pull my card back, and I'm just gonna look like an idiot because that's the type of life I live. But thank you, Leah, for that introduction, and Beth Ann, thanks for being a great co-host to her. Thank you guys so much. I'm rocking on my live IG live, so you can watch these episodes live, even though I'm recording this very late on a early morning Tuesday. But if you go to my Buy Me a Coffee and sign up for a subscription, you can watch my episodes live, but it might not even be worth it because they're doing it the last minute. And then I still got t-shirts for sale, hats for sale. Go to 2010minutes.com to buy all your Timmy stuff. So my most recent interview was the most viewed interview on YouTube so far. I have like 200 views, not bragging, with adult entertainer Felicity Feline. If you haven't listened to that yet, go listen to it because it is fucking awesome and nuts. Her fan interactions were great. Like the one where she told me because she drums and some guy contacted her to be like, "Hey, I want to buy your socks off you when you're done with your show." And I forget what the price that guy paid. Like he was the $1 million man. He's like, everybody's got a price. He went there. They had a transaction of her handing him her socks after drumming for a night. People are weird, but it's cool. If you want to be weird, hey, there's a lot of weird things to talk about. Sex is a weird one to talk about. Obviously like suicide, mental health. Those are all weird. I like weird, but that's too fucking weird. Like I would like to watch that transaction from the sideline. I'd be like ripping my skin off. But I want to watch it. It's like you got to peek and watch. You're like, let me see that thing. You got to see what that guy looked like. Oh my God, I would love to. That would be something I would time travel to watch. But this week I have Nate Carroll on. Push-ups. That guy is the $1 million man of push-ups. He's also a domestic survivor, but he raised money on his quest to break the record for most push-ups in 365 days to help the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to raise money for its fallen first responder program, which is great. So say a family member like pretty much lost their life in the line of duty. They help raise money to like help families like pay the mortgage and things like that. So that's a great organization. But this dude did 1,500,231 push-ups in 365 days. Weird number to finish on, but he broke the record and he beat some like dude out. And it's a funny story and it's super interesting. Like that's a lot of push-ups. I don't think I've even cracked like probably like 10,000, maybe. I don't know. It's a good interview. It's really good. And I just feel bad for the poor bastard in the world record that has to like watch all of his push-ups, because I know he has like film of them and he has to like give them proof. And then like he did his last one at like MetLife Stadium in like the 50-yard line. But great interview, great guy, Nate Carroll. We end up talking a little bit of wrestling at the end, talked a little Brutus the Barber Beefcake and how he worked at the MBTA and did coke and they thought it was anthrax. That's a true story. Look it up. But yeah. So again, thank you for tuning in for 22 minutes, episode 42. Can't believe we made it. We made it. Number 42. So just a little PSA going into this one. We're going to be talking about suicide on this one again. I know I've touched up on it before. I know episode 25 is about my suicide story. And then I think an early episode, I talk about suicide. But you know what? We get new fans every week. We got to keep them in. Repackage the old stuff. Like the ad. Okay, real quick. I'll go back to the PSA. Rob Zombie's doing a Monsters movie, and I don't know if it's going to be a comedy or horror because it says adaptation. Oh my God, can't spell or talk. Adaptation. And I'm very nervous of how this is going to come out, okay? Big Monsters guy right here. Rob Zombie hasn't had a good movie in a long time, and by long time, I say Devil's Rejects. So I'm going to repackage my episodes a little bit better, so here we go. But yes, so it's National Suicide Prevention Week. Okay, this is where it gets kind of confusing for people because on the internet it looks like a lot. So I got sounds going off my computer now. Sorry about that. So National Suicide Prevention Week. Okay, September 5th to September 11th, but it's not to be confused with September. The whole month is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Again, this is National Suicide Prevention Week. Then Suicide Prevention Day is on September 10th. It seems like a lot and it's overkill, but who gives a fuck? It should be every day, 366 days a year. Add an extra day. Did you know that Cody from Step by Step was born on a leap year? So in the episode, he's really like 7 years old or something. That's a fun fact if you didn't know. Step by Step, look it up. Shout out to Pat Duffy. But yeah, so the AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, is hosting, I don't know, like, how do you say that? Is like sponsoring or doing the National Suicide Prevention Week. Great website to post things around on social media, which I've been trying to do and keep up with because I try to do the whole support with the suicide prevention. And before we keep going, there's probably going to be I do a lot of jokes about things. I don't joke about mental health or joke about suicide or anything like that. I don't make fun of it. I make lighthearted jokes because that's how I deal with it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to watch me or listen to me or anything. Like, everyone's different. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't purposely try to offend people. If I do, we can have a normal conversation about it. But if you start yelling or giving me all caps or the thumbs up in a text, if you give me thumbs up in a text that isn't appropriate to just give a thumbs up, we're squaring up. But again, just want to give you guys a heads up because I'm probably going to read a bunch of stats again, and then just talk from there. So, and then just my quick wits. So recently, this professional wrestler, her name was Daphne. She wrestled for the WCW World Championship Wrestling. They used to compete with the WWF when they were called the WWF, but they call the WWE now, and there was the Attitude Era. So she wasn't like a huge name or whatever, but all wrestlers like kind of keep in the business because you don't really have another job, so you kind of just wrestle on the side. And so she had like an Instagram story, like a live Instagram story, and she was like making some bad comments, and she was talking about like how she wants her brain sent to Boston about like CTE so they can do that. And apparently she had a gun in the video, and she took her life. And I was reading about it again just to double check. And again, I'm very open about suicide. This is how we break the stigma, is being very blunt about it, because you can't sugarcoat it. Because one, people are always like, oh, I wonder what happened. But it's life. This is what like you have to deal with. So she shot herself in the chest, apparently, so they could preserve her brain and give that to Boston. But she was freaking people out on Instagram, fans and everything. They tried to get to her and they didn't, unfortunately. So that one's super sad. She said that she felt alone, and obviously she probably wasn't. People would have reached out, but I know how it can be in that moment where you just don't think anyone gives a fuck or you're being a burden. So I always feel for people like that, because people always call it selfish. It's like, it's not fucking selfish. No one's like, you know what? I'm going to do this and show everybody. Like, no. They're just looking to stop bothering everybody else. They don't want any more pain. Call it selfish if you want. This is where I don't agree with you. You don't agree with me with making lighthearted jokes like Cinco de Hangout? If you don't know what that means, go to episode 25. That's probably my most emotional episode. So, yeah, if this is your first time rocking with Tim McCarthy, keep your socks on, okay? And, yeah, so that was like a couple of days ago, like 1 or 2 days into Suicide Prevention Week, which is super fucking sad. And then Doug Middleton was a interview I had very early on in my interviewing career. He's a former NFL player he's an NFL player, and he formerly played for the Jaguars. Now he plays for the Carolina Panthers. And we talked a lot about African-American mental health in the community. But he made a good tweet the other day because Michael K. Williams just died, and then a former NFL player died, but they died of overdoses. So he goes, he wrote, I always stay away from considering a drug overdose a suicide, but the science definitely states that chronic use of some drugs can lead to short and long-term changes in the brain. I know what he's saying. I completely agree with that. And someone like Mac Miller, apparently he did an over amount of drugs to kill himself. Again, it can be fact, not be fact. I don't know him. I don't know the people that are close to him, but you got to think that is a big one. And one of the stats I brought up was suicide methods. And the one I read, little more than half of suicide deaths are, the method is firearms. Firearms is like pretty much 50%. The most common methods were suffocation at 28.55%, and then poisoning, including drug overdose, at 12.89. So it does happen. And you're on such a high that why not take yourself out like that? So I can understand. Again, I'm not agreeing with killing yourself. We got to help each other. This isn't like, I'm not being like, oh yeah, that's the way to do it. If you want jokes like that, go listen to my Frank King interview. He's very good. He's the mental health comedian. I forget. I'm so bad at remember my shit. I have people like comment about old episodes and like they'll make references. I'm like, what are they talking about? I have no idea, but I like it. So keep me on my toes. But yeah, I looked up a lot of more stats on suicides. And I know I mentioned this before and I didn't know the answer, so I looked it up this time. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death. And it's kind of insane because I noticed something. So number 1, heart disease. Number 2, cancer. Number 3, unintentional injuries / accidents. 4, chronic lower respiratory diseases. Stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and I think that this one is liver failure, and then ammonia, influenza, and then it's self-harm. So all of those first 9 are like things that you can't, like, that just happen. Like again, it's like suicide. You could have mental health issues and you could not. Some people that kill themselves don't have mental health issues. I've heard stories of people losing their job because of COVID, no mental health issues, never a red flag, and they just lost it and killed themselves. But the other ones, it's like Alzheimer's, that just happened. Like, these are all like medical things, and the only thing with suicide, it's connected to mental health as well. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not diminishing suicide, and I'm not trying to compare different types of deaths, but it takes medicine to like help cure cancer, and it takes medicine to help your mental health, but just being there for somebody when they're in a bad state or noticing that they're not doing well. Same with someone that has cancer. If they're not doing well, you should be there for them. And if someone doesn't look like they're doing well, like how Daphne was on Instagram, is like, you got to check up on those people. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that was fucking confusing, but either way, I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anybody. And then just a couple other facts I saw. It's like on average, there are 130 suicides per day. White males are accounted for 69.38 of suicide deaths in 2019. Rate of suicide is highest with middle-aged white men. And I don't know, like, obviously that's like a fact, but it doesn't matter what flavor you are. You know what I mean? We're all different flavor. I like it. I got a bunch of different flavors in me. I took an ancestry test, whole bunch of shit. I love it. I always thought I was just Irish, but no, I got like a little bit of Nigerian there. I got European Jewish. I got Southern Bantu peoples. I'm not joking. Go on my TikTok, which is very hidden right now. If you want to go find it, it's called Tim Minutes because they wouldn't let me have the 20 in it. Go watch that. It's like my most popular TikTok I have, but it's about my ancestry test. Turns out I'm 100% unsure what the fuck I am. But I meant to say this at the beginning about the AFSP. Do you remember what that stands for? Because I didn't say it. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Their crisis line, if you need it, 1-800-273-8255. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. I have a great voice for being automatic. I always wanted to do like those like automated voice machines. It's like, you have dialed Tim. Press 1 to leave a message. 2 to send an SMS message. I don't know what the fuck that means either. Send an SMS message. But I always do that. I wish I had a guy that edited my episodes and they can put all that shit together. But suicide doesn't weird me out to talk to, and I don't mind. Like, again, it's like the whole like sex thing, and I forget who it was. I was talking to somebody, and they made the correlation. It's like usually people with I don't know, what was the joke? It was a funny joke where people like to be choked during sex. You know, like that's like the new thing on the streets, where it's like, yeah, it's because they want to feel that sensation right before. And I was like, that's fucked up, but I could see that. So I don't know who would be into that. But if that's again, I don't judge. I'm sex positive. If you're not hurting somebody or hurting yourself, be weird. Fuck it. Be weird. Do what you want to do. But I do make a lot of jokes about it. But it's, again, I don't make jokes that are bad. I make jokes to help me with it. Like that show, I Think You Should Leave. If you watch the second season, the second skit, like he goes to like a mall and he just doesn't want to do it. And he's like, I don't want to be around anymore. But he's like dressed up in a fucking like suit, like a guy suit, like trying to mess with people at the mall. It's just wicked funny, and out of context, it does not make any sense to you if you don't know what I'm talking about. But a lot of people do make suicide ideations, which I would do a lot. And there's this thing called, I looked up, it's called, it's like smiling depression. So like I would make jokes, and it's tougher to see that when you're like, oh, he's smiling and having fun, but he's making these fucked up comments. And there are like warning signs for people. It's like if they have aggressive behavior, dramatic mood swings, impulsive, reckless behavior. There's other ones that it gets worse if they're collecting and saving pills, or if they're buying a weapon randomly, giving away possessions, tying up loose ends, paying off debts, saying goodbye to friends and family. Like those are fucking signs. You're like, hold up, let's pump the brakes and let's pull over to the side and let's talk about this. So suicidal ideation is normal. If you have those thoughts, I have them a lot, and it's sad, but I that's why I joke about it. But in turn, it's very hard for people to see that if I'm struggling, I'm usually joking about it. But if you compared me to 2019 to 2021, totally different. Making jokes back then, you can see it like in my face. Like I had like my beard. I was just not a good person. But now it's like I am open, and you can't have those awkward conversations anymore. Same with like talking about sex. If someone wants to tell me they get choked or whatever, like whatever, that's cool. If you want to buy socks at a drumming event, that's cool. That's whatever. Just talk about it. Let's get it out in the open. Same with suicide. Just talk about it. If you think someone's going to commit suicide, ask them, like, do you need help? Because if someone's going to say that to me, I'm probably going to be like, no. And then they'll see it because you pull, like, it's such a question that you don't see coming. And when you get those questions, you're like, you fucking scramble. So if you're going to do it to somebody, do it straight up. Like, are you going to commit suicide? So I'm going to end with this because I could talk for fucking like an hour straight. I can interview Tim McCarthy from 20 minutes for an hour. So talk openly and honestly. Don't be afraid to ask questions like, do you have a plan for how you would kill yourself? Remove any means such as guns, knives, stockpiled pills if you can. Calmly ask in simple, direct questions, can I help you call a psychiatrist? Don't just say that to say that, because that is a long fucking road to deal with. But if you're down to really help somebody, you should be there for them to do that, because that is a hard thing. And I had to do that. And I had the help of people to help me do that, which is good. If there are multiple people around doing this, have it like an intervention, have one person speak at a time. You definitely don't want to like be like, dude, what the fuck? Everything's like so good. Like, what do you have to complain about? I'd be like, I'm going to kill you first, then I'm going to kill me. So shut up. Express support and concern. Obviously, you got to be empathetic and be honest. Because if you're coming at me with just being like, oh, I don't want to be here, like, don't argue, threaten, raise your voice. Hey, I just said that. I'm learning. Don't debate whether suicide is right or wrong. If you're nervous, try not to fidget or pace, because you definitely vibe off people. So like, if you're nervous, I'm gonna be nervous. I'm like, what are you gonna do? I ain't doing nothing now. You already asked me, and I'm crying in the corner. But yeah, I just wanted to I'll probably continue this for the month of September, talking more about suicide, because I do feel like sometimes my episodes go off the rails a little bit, and I try to keep it honest with like mental health. But I think like my whole thing with like break the stigma by cracking a smile, it does help people. And I've gotten a lot of comments about like how like my humor helps them out with the episodes and they enjoy it. I always like to be funny. I didn't always know if I was funny enough. And again, this goes to my cockiness, confidence thing, where I'm like, I would never call myself a comic or a comedian or a stand-up comedian, because like, I don't know. I don't think I'm that funny, but it's really good to hear it that people think I'm funny. It's kind of cool. So I appreciate it. I always appreciate the nice things you guys say. If you want to help me with the podcast for free, you can always leave me a review on iTunes, or go on that new account app called Good Pods, which I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well on it. So I appreciate it, guys. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to anybody if you're feeling down. Even if you're not feeling suicidal, like, just text someone and be like, hey, what's up? And if you've texted me recently and I haven't replied, text me again. I've been kind of busy and I'm not dodging you, because that's what happens. So if you've texted me in the past week or so, text me again, please. And just be like, hey, what the fuck? I'm doing well, but I'm sorry. But again, if you need any help, 1-800-273-8255 is the number you can call to receive help, because we all need it. Or you can reach out to me and I'll do my best to try to help you. I can't guarantee anything concrete, but I will do some of the legwork for you and be there until we get to that next step. Let's finish with this. Music and movie. I'm going to start with the movie one first, because I think this is funny. This movie I feel like would not come out in this day and age. Came out in like the mid-90s, I think it was. It was Dead Man on Campus. And again, like comedy with like mental health, or comedy with like suicide, like it's tough. It's tough to do. And I haven't watched this movie in a long time, so I don't know if they do it right. But the concept of the movie is these two kids are failing, and they heard the rumor, which I've heard this before the movie, that if your roommate dies in college, you get automatic A's. So they find like the town drunk of the college campus, and they try to kill him, but making it look like a suicide. Yeah, this movie would not be out today, I'm telling you. But there's a great line in that movie that I say all the time. He's like, the guy shows up, he's like, I got some beers, let's drink them. So I say that from time to time, and no one gets the reference, because no one, I don't think, has ever seen Dead Man on Campus, but like me and like 6 friends. Now, my music suggestion, I brought this up on my Instagram story. I was like, you know what? Kesha's touring right now. She's down in DC. I got some days off. Maybe I'll go. Maybe I won't. All I'm saying is you should follow me on Instagram, 20 minutes, at 20TIMINUTES. Maybe I'll go. Maybe I won't. But Kesha, let them talk. Shake that ass. Fuck all that. Don't worry about the haters. That song's good. It's a very positive song. I love that. I love Kesh. Queen Kesh. Sorry, I feel like there's a lot of information all at once. This episode is going kind of long, but I don't give a frick. Suicide. We're going to be talking about it for a couple weeks now because I don't think I even touched on this, and I was very nervous this wasn't going to be a long enough episode, but look at me. Look at us now. Who would have thought? Not me. I love you guys. Texting people is a two-way street. I always say that you should text people, and I haven't been doing that lately, so I'm going to start doing it again because I get busy and I lose sight, and I got to get my ducks in a row. Just been, life ain't easy. That's why we got to work together as a team. I love you guys, as always, and have a good one. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. If you are feeling suicidal, please dial 911.